Assalamu alaikum ji, and a very good evening to everybody out there watching us from Pakistan. आज हमारे guest हैं नूर इंटरनेशनल यूनिवर्सिटी के behalf से नादीन मलिक. Nadeen, welcome and thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm very excited to be part of this talk.
Lovely, thank you. And we'll just launch straight in. Nadeen, मैं आपको आके आपका तारुफ करवाऊंगा in usual style. जिस तरह हम शुरू करते हैं here at NIU, we just have a quick promo video of what our young university is about. So I'll just hand it over to the admin team for a quick promo video, and then we'll be right back. और आपका तारुफ आके हम formally करवाएंगे. So admin team, over to you. Hey, thank you very much, admin team, and welcome back. मेरा नाम है सालम रहमान. I am the acting vice chancellor for Noor International University. और जैसा हमने बताया, आज की हमारी guest है नादीन मलिक. Thank you again, Nadine, for joining us and for spending the next 45 minutes with us. मैं quickly नादीन का तारुफ करवा दूं. Nadine Malik Almani is the current director strategy for Colliers International. Since December 2019. She holds an MBA from INSEAD Business School in France. And as the Director of Strategy at Colliers, Nadine is responsible for overseeing market studies, advising on highest and best use of real estate and infrastructure, managing research projects and feasibility studies, understanding market dynamics and how that translates into opportunities for clients. In her previous roles, she has served as the managing director for a hospitality-related venture in Pakistan. And prior to that, she worked as a management consultant at Bain & Company in Singapore, which is, for those of you who know, one of the top 3 management consulting firms globally. And she has had experience in various sectors across financial services, healthcare, private equity, and telecom, as well as across geographies in Southeast Asia, Middle East, and Pakistan. So thank you, Nadine. MashaAllah, what a wonderful profile you have, and thank you for allowing us to share your next 45 minutes इस show पे. जिस तरह हमने थोड़ा सा आपको ब्रीफ किया एज इन आवर प्री इंट्रोडक्शन, हमारा गोल इन सेशंस का ये होता है टू लर्न फ्रॉम यू इन द सेक्टर दैट यू आर इन टुडे एज वेल एज योर पास्ट. आपकी लाइफ, आपकी प्रोफाइल इज माशाल्लाह बड़ी डाइवर्स, एंड वीड लाइक कि एक इंडस्ट्री और एकेडेमिया का लिंकेज मीनिंगफुल बेसिस पे हमारे स्टूडेंट्स, जो करंट स्टूडेंट्स हैं, रिसेंट अलुमनाई हैं, एज वेल एज प्रोस्पेक्टिव स्टूडेंट्स हु आर लुकिंग एट अस and other centers of higher education, उनके लिए एक flavor हम offer कर सकें of what real life is all about. So Nadine, over to you for a free-flow conversation for the next few minutes. Maybe as you launch in, तो आप हमें थोड़ा सा बता दीजिए about the part of your career which we may have missed out on in the introduction that we gave, or bits of your life that you'd love to, that you think would be worth sharing with us as we embark.
I think you covered quite a bit of my experience, but one of my most, I think, out of my career so far, one of the best experiences was when I joined a startup, and I actually ran the startup for Rocket Internet. So that was actually a really fun time in my career. It was a lot of work, but at the same time, I learned a lot. And running a startup actually gives you a lot of experience in all, sort of all functions of a business. So, before that, aapko pata hai ki I was working at Bain & Company. So I was doing a lot of strategy. Usse pehle I was doing my MBA. So then there was a lot of studying. And I think even the first job I had after my MBA, which was management consulting, it's almost academic, because you're doing research, but you're also producing papers and reports. So there's not a lot of practical experience in that. So what was exciting for me was that after I did that job at Bain & Company, so मैं वापस पाकिस्तान आई हूँ. I saw this amazing country. Everywhere in the West, the financial crisis was happening. Things were closing down. Yahan Pakistan mein, I think we are, of course, we suffered the financial crisis, but at the same time, where we were also behind the time. So there was a lot of catching up for us to do. And at that time, there weren't that many startups, but Rocket Internet had come to Pakistan. And they had just opened up Daraz, and everyone was talking about it. Daraz, Food Panda, and it was quite an exciting space to be in. So maine kaha, okay, fine, I think this is what I'd like to do. And a lot of my friends from INSEAD had also joined startups funded by Rocket Internet. So I tried very hard, and I think this will be an important message for everyone. I tried to get a job, and they didn't have any space available for a year and a half. So I interviewed with a lot of people. I, kept telling them, please, if you open something, think of me, please, please, please. But in the meantime, I started working at Engro, which is, aapko pata, it's one of the largest local companies in Pakistan. And again, I was doing strategy for them. Luckily, this opportunity at Javago came up, at Rocket came up to set up the first hotel booking platform in Pakistan. I'm sure all of you are very aware, I travel a lot all over Pakistan. But at that time, 5 to 7 years ago, when we did this, tourism, I mean, it was there, but, logon ko zyada pata nahi tha. There wasn't awareness of how many hotels are there, what they look like, kaun si facilities hain, what services they offer. You usually went by word of mouth. You said, okay, my friend has stayed at this hotel, so maybe I'll stay there too. There wasn't sort of a directory you could go on. So I thought it would be a very exciting opportunity, and I'm also very patriotic. I'm sure all of you are. You're all studying in Pakistan, So I really said, our country is so beautiful. Not only is the role exciting in terms of the responsibility and the learning, but also the end goal, which is to improve the hospitality and tourism sector in Pakistan. In whichever way we can. It's the role that I feel that is very patriotic. So those were my reasons behind joining the company, and then secondly, why it was my most exciting experience. So waha, I mean, it was like that. I would really encourage all students. One thing I learned, I think, was that I worked at Citibank, and it was a very, very rigorous job. So I got very good training, and then I went for my MBA, and then I did management consulting, which was also very good training. But at some point in your life, I think you have to take risks. You have to do something that is different. Eventually Javago folded, and we had to liquidate. We weren't able to raise money in time. So it's not that it was a very successful venture at the end of it, but I spent 3 years of it doing it. I learned a lot. And I think we actually contributed a lot to the tourism industry, even despite the fact that we folded. So that's one thing I'd like to speak to students about. Just take those risks, do it at the right time. Don't take those risks now. I mean, they should be calculated risks, but follow your dreams, follow your passion, find something that you enjoy. And try to, have that opportunity in your career as well at some point.
सही कह रही हैं Nadine, and thank you for sharing a personal story. I think both relating to the fact कि आपने एक startup join किया at a time where let's say the job market was difficult. आपने वो चीज़ अपने बारे में share की. Secondly, that you had trouble and eventually found a space, and then you shared a failure in terms of Javago not working out. तो बाकी ये चीजें बहुत एक जरूरी हिस्सा है आपकी जिंदगी का, because they are who what you are, what we see in front of us today. You have been through those experiences, और उसी की वजह से आप सही कह रही हैं कि एक flexibility भी maintain करनी है, but yet आपने अपना passion भी pursue करना है. And I 100% echo your sentiments for those students listening to us today कि वाकई startup में काम करना एक बहुत different breed है, एक animal है, क्योंकि आपके role जो है it's morphed into many things into one. आपने हर चीज के अंदर अपना skill demonstrate करना है. You're not stuck in a particular pigeonholed into a particular role, for example, or a very structured approach. Fundraising is a very large part of it. So thank you for sharing those things. और आज का जो हमारा टॉपिक है, of course, tourism sector, उसके मुताबिक I think अगर आप इजाजत दें तो tell us about Colliers for briefly, about Colliers के बारे में कि it's an international firm, it's operating in the real estate field, जो कि of course बहुत hot है here in Pakistan. It's on the radar of the government as well. So can you spend a couple of minutes telling us about Colliers and what the goals are for Colliers here in Pakistan?
Sure. So what Colliers is a real estate consultancy firm, and what that actually means कि हमारा जो काम होता है कि we do market research studies, a lot of them, on different asset classes of real estate. So we do everything from commercial, which is your offices, up to residential societies, any major developments in the office area. We do a lot of hospitality work, which is why I selected hospitality for this topic, because we've done a lot of work for tourism as well, in the tourism sector. And we also do a lot of real estate consulting for different industries such as warehousing, logistics. So it's not real estate as how you would think it would to be, but it encompasses a diverse range of different fields actually in Pakistan. So that's the reason I took this job, because it was giving me exposure to a lot of industries, and it was very Pakistan centric as well. We are an international firm, so we don't take on international work because obviously there are other offices serving that. So all the work that we get is all local. So we do a lot of market research, and then we use that market research to give development recommendations to our clients. So it could be that they'll say, "Ki hamare paas 45 acre ka land parcel hai in Rahim Yar Khan. What shall we do?" So we'll tell them then they can, where you're positioned, maybe a residential society will work, maybe office rates, an office would work, or maybe something else completely, a school, a university. That's a very small part of what we do, but then we look at, surrounding areas, what are the dynamics? What are the future dynamics also of that area? For example, what are the population growths, what are the other macroeconomic indicators that would help us develop or find out the full commercial value of that land. So we develop recommendations for them, very detailed recommendations, and then we do the financial feasibility. We also do valuation services. So iska matlab hai ki, we go and tell you the value of the land. And the reason, a lot of people come to us is because aapko pata hai ki real estate is a very, undocumented sort of market. We have real estate agents and brokers constantly undervaluing on paper the price of the land. So a lot of our clients are just say banks, FMCGs, anyone who wants to actually pitch to a foreign investor also knows that if they come for us for a valuation, we will give an accurate valuation, not a paper valuation on the actual land price value. So we have most of our clients come to us for those reasons as well. And then lastly, we also do project management. So if you have office relocation or any office needs, we manage that as well. That's a smaller part of our business. So.
Awesome. So sounds like a काफी interesting landscape hai, and by virtue of having an international presence, you're bringing a lot of method to the madness in an industry and in an area in Pakistan. जिसको बहुत I think obviously government भी import दे रही है, ज़मीन जिसके पास है, that's an asset that can be leveraged for subsequent development of any sort, whether it be office, residential, even tourism for that matter. Plus आपने बिल्कुल सही कहा कि जो information asymmetry exist करती है इस एरिया में, उसको आप in a very professional manner, I guess, you are being able to overcome the traditional issues जो इसके sector के face होते हैं. Which brings us to I think a little more our topic for today, the information flow and Zhivago की आपने बात की, even with Colliers, bringing that and tying that into tourism. Nadeen, थोड़ा सा उसके बारे में बताएं कि what do you think के hospitality sector में in general, how has the landscape changed since the time, let's say, आपका वास्ता पड़ा with Rocket and Zhivago till today, जहाँ पे you're sitting on the other side of the table and helping people evaluate if this is an area to go into. Brief us about that.
I mean, it's changed significantly. I mean, it's come leaps and bounds. Okay, well, maybe not leaps and bounds, but it's improved significantly since I was at Zhivago. So to be honest, I noticed that even while I was at Zhivago, every year there'd be a significant improvement in the number of hotels, the quality of hotels, and all of that. So maybe I guess if you look at it from now to then. What I must say is that I think one of the biggest sort of proponents of change has actually been COVID. So I know, I'm sure everyone has this question, is that what was the impact of COVID on hospitality? So obviously in the first year, it was not very good because all the hotels were closed. And then of course it varies from city to city. So in the urban cities, they're still recovering from, they have to come back to their pre-COVID levels. But what actually happened is in the northern areas, people just, flocked to those areas because international restrictions. I mean, the dollar is also not in a good place, so international travel doesn't become feasible. And I guess, generally people are trapped in their homes. You can't go anywhere. So the amount we've seen in the last year that has just in the northern areas, it's unprecedented. I mean, there are a lot of developments coming up, but they're not coming fast enough to match the demand. And we are getting a lot of interest, even from a Collier's perspective, from a lot of developers who've been sitting on land in, Gilgit-Baltistan or in Skulku for decades. And they said, now is the time. Tell us what to develop, like what style development should it be? How many rooms should we have? What are the prices we should charge for it? We've had so much interest. What kind of resorts? So, on that front, that has changed, or maybe I'm seeing a different angle of it. But even in the past 5 years, infrastructure has improved tremendously. I mean, they just recently inaugurated this highway, which connects, basically it's a 160-kilometer highway that goes to Swat. So that has reduced travel time considerably. And similarly, you see a lot of other infrastructure projects. These might not necessarily be related to tourism, but they have actually helped the connectivity. So you'll see all these, it's all in the news, energy projects. Har jagah, there's an energy project, whether it's a hydro dam or so on and so forth. All of that has improved access to areas that you don't have access to. And it's easier for travelers now to reach those areas. So that's one big improvement, along with, COVID, which has really helped the northern areas. then you see there are a lot more developments that have come up on a higher quality level. As I said, where demand is increasing, so people are demanding services. When I was at Jivago, there were no five-star hotels. I mean, Serena, there was only Serena in the northern areas, and one PC Muzaffarabad. That's it, three. Can you imagine in a country like Pakistan where we have so much to offer? No four-star hotels. So they were mainly 1 and 2 stars. So if you want to go with your family. These kind of options were not available to you. But now you see a very different landscape. There are a lot of boutique hotels which are offering good services. They don't have to be expensive services, but cleanliness, just security, basic amenities like garam pani and all of that. That is being catered to much more than what we were doing when we were doing it 5 years ago. And then I think lastly, and then one of the most important developments is that now there's this direct flight to Skulku from Lahore and Karachi. So that has been a game changer in the tourism industry. I mean, now you don't have to drive or you don't have to go to Islamabad and then go from there, and flights being cancelled, and also the frequency of flights is also increased. There are 2 flights a day. So from Islamabad at least, from Karachi and Lahore, there's still one. But these are the small things that make a huge difference to the tourism industry. And recently, I believe last week, they announced Skardu Airport as an international airport. So they will be accepting international flights. So these small things, I wish they had existed 5 years ago when we did this, because it would have just been so different. But, of course, this has been happening. It's interesting, we're also seeing that the average daily rates of these hotels are very high. So agar 2019 you could get a room for 5,000 rupees a night, that same room is going for 20,000 rupees a night now, which is, just showing you that they are getting so much demand, they can charge any prices. And it's the same level of service. So there's a lot of opportunity in these areas as well. So I hope that answered your question. I'm not sure if I went
Perfect.
off.
No, I think this is perfect. So yes, I think bilkul aap sahi keh rahi hain that the evolution of this landscape and how COVID has actually, in a lot of ways, I think isko quantum leap humne kiya hai, because the borders were closed. I think bahut sare hamare let's say higher socioeconomic class strata, and even the middle class, I think were flocking to areas for local tourism, and wahan pe it kind of forced the hand of locals as well as investors to say कि हाँ जी हम invest करना चाह रहे हैं. And I think GB गिलगित बल्तिस्तान में बहुत advancement देखी है. I understand one of the large hotel chains is also visiting, going to be starting up in Nathia Gali. I saw a project announcement by Doubletree of Hilton, which is great. I think the international brand names. एक चीज, however, Nadeem, sorry, just coming back slightly to the access, आपने बिल्कुल सही कहा कि जी a lot of boost has actually happened by virtue of infrastructure, which of course covers us in terms of infrastructure of access, road networks, access to international airports. Yes, Skardu wali aapne baat ki international airport, and then of course the infrastructure के कैपेक्स तो लोग कर लेते हैं, बिल्डिंग अच्छी खूबसूरत बना लेते हैं, but then the question arises, and आपका जो सारी orientation है, the professional orientation has been in the service sector. Generally पाकिस्तान का service quality levels को I guess एक जगह मेंटेन करना या even achieve करना और फिर उसको sustainably maintaining that service quality level has been something which is not our forte per se. उसके बारे में आपका क्या ख्याल है कि हम क्या चीजें inculcate कर सकते हैं, especially with regards to the hospitality sector in terms of service delivery?
You need the training schools, right? Whenever we speak, even when I was at Jivago, and even when we do speak to investors who want to partner up with hotels right now, there's a lack of hospitality training, whatever universities or courses or whatever it is. And most of the problem is our industry is a mom and pop industry. It's mostly, they're not chains. There are very few chains. You have your Hashu group, which is one chain. You have PC and Marriott, and that's it. Mostly in other countries आपके बहुत ज़्यादा chains होते हैं, so the competition is higher. यहाँ छोटे hotels होते हैं, there are 30 rooms, they usually run by families. There's no idea of training or hospitality, there's no need for it. So when you don't have that competition and your other hotel next door is not also providing that level of service, you will have no incentive to change. And that's what we saw a lot, especially in the more remote areas. Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad are different, they're cities. But in the remote areas and in the tier 2 cities, you do have this problem. And I think it's just a lack of training or a lack of requirement of training. No one asks for any credentials. So I think that's one issue. What we're seeing, Abhi, is that, for example, a lot of our investors who come in and they want to invest in the property, they're happy to buy the land, they're happy to build the property, but they want another operator, a local operator, to manage it for them. So there are only a handful of local operators, so they do often reach out to them and they say, okay, please manage this for us from our hotel perspective. So that is one way that they're doing it. And now I'm seeing a couple of more established hotels which are not chains, just in Athia Gali mein, there's a very famous brand called Alpine. They are actually going into management of different, different places as well. Another interesting model that I've seen on how investors are tackling this is that what they're doing is they're saying that, look, we'll invest, we'll build it, and they're reaching out to customers to say, "Kya aap khareed le hamare se?" So this is a hotel apartment. We will manage the operations for you. We will service it for you. You get 25 days to live in this apartment, but the rest of it, we will loan it out to guests. And then we will give you a fixed income at the end of the month. So then they're also taking over the ownership of that management as well. So I think until you have the proper until you solve the human resource problem, which has to be done via some sort of selection criteria, and training resources, this is not a problem that's going to be fixed very
So
soon.
I think completely echo your sentiment. आपने जिस तरह कहा कि access to training and access to standardization जो requirements हैं, अगर आप उनको सबसे पहले strengthen करें तो वाकई this is an area which is waiting to happen. Or we pride ourselves at Noor International because we've got a 44-year history of providing let's say healthcare. So in a lot of ways, hospitality administration and healthcare administration have very similar needs, because both are providing service to people. And so we have specialty services, of course, in healthcare. We currently are offering an MBA in rehabilitation sciences, an MBA in healthcare administration. So hospitality, I think, will be a natural segue for us to develop. And we're currently scouting for opportunities. Yes, tourism and hotel management options exist करती हैं आज पाकिस्तान में, but again the question is how well can they be translated into becoming a hand in glove relationship with service operators. जो आपने बात की regarding options like the timeshares, the owner owned, and then yes, you get to spend a certain amount. वो भी I think are great opportunities, especially अगर कुछ international models आए. Just for example, Rocket Internet is very much built on the fact that actually they'll take cookie cutter models and transplant them from one country where they worked into others. My sense is कि जिस तरह ये कुछ बड़ी chains आएंगी to Pakistan, they'll help pull up the whole sector vertical and say कि जी we'll have a whole slew, I feel, of service operators. Because again, building is one thing, but managing and sustaining operations of such establishments is a key other thing. So I think you're right, KG. Training wise, I think there's a big gap to cover, and I'm happy to see that mom and pop shops wali baat jo hai, one hopes that wahan bhi opportunity exist karegi in terms of you don't need large service operators behind you. Again, B&B wala concept jo hai, jo operate karta hai in Europe, for example, quite a bit. Those things can easily be translated and can become sources of regular income for people जो कि in areas में operate करते हैं. Let's switch gears a little bit, Nadine, and take मैं दो questions एक में merge करने की कोशिश करता हूँ जो हमारी audience से आई हैं about a female executive, retired female executive in the US who likes to travel. There are concerns about females traveling alone in Pakistan, and if I can merge that with the next question as well. Okay, how do you think that the government can help in instituting regulations which could help overall tourism and help the softer image of Pakistan kind of go hand in glove with an opportunity again, which is a huge source of foreign exchange for the foreign travelers, but as well as locals. If we can inculcate this level of trust in our system.
Right.
Any thoughts to share on this account? You dealt with Javago as well. Any experience that would be worth sharing?
I mean, the biggest, this is not just, obviously limited to females, but also to males, was safety and security, right? Because people travel with their families and they want to make sure that it's safe. Of course, I think the situation has improved greatly in Pakistan. And I think there are a variety of, resources that you have now to help you sort of explore the country in a safer way. So, for example, there are a lot of tour operators who even do a lot of only female retreats or whatever it is, and they take them all through the northern areas. A lot of my friends have been on yoga retreats in the northern areas. There are a lot of tour operators that take you even for adventure tourism. So I think if you peg yourself to a tour operator, you can feel a bit safer. And then, of course, when you go to more established names like your Serena or PCs, you sort of people do take care of you. And I think Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad, I think people are very, familiar with. There's certain areas that you don't go to. There's certain areas that are safe. In the northern areas, it's by and large very safe once you're in the city, because people, I mean, it's a great community over there. Yes, traveling by road is always a little uncertain, just because there's frequent landslides and you can get stuck, and you don't want that kind of unease. So always good to go with the tour operator. And I think, until that reputational part of Pakistan gets fixed, there's not much I can, not much else you can do to address the security. But there are definitely ways and easy ways to be able to be safe and travel as a woman in Pakistan, even by yourself. So there are lots of resources available for you to choose from. And then
sorry, please go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think you were going to come to the government regulation part of things, but I also wanted to say you're completely correct. I know for a fact that yoga retreats have really picked up, and there are lots of female establishments that are meant for female-only yoga retreat opportunities, and it's not just in yoga. I know mountaineering opportunities, which is meant specifically catering to let's say the Pakistani diaspora, then specifically to the female Pakistani diaspora and locals as well. So yes, I think female for female type service orientation is definitely coming in, and I hope the government will incentivize this, because I really feel that there is an opportunity to be extracted for this sector in particular.
Yeah.
Which takes us to our second question, that in your opinion, having operated in this particular area, what do you think we can expect in terms of government regulations or government policies? What, let's say if we were to try and influence policy making in this particular area, kya aap suggest karengi as some of the things that come to mind?
I mean, honestly, I don't have a strong opinion on policy, but I do think there are some very important measures that the government can take to improve tourism. The biggest being access. Once you have access, and we're seeing this, right? I mean, we all know that the government doesn't really take that initiative to improve things unless they see people gearing towards it, or it becomes an important topic, right? So once you improve access and you have enough people coming, then your service standards go up automatically. Your number of developments go up automatically. Your investments go up automatically in that area, in that hospitality space. It's only when just recently we were approached by a client because of the inauguration of the Swat Highway. They said, now our property, you can reach it in 2 hours from so and so place. So we're ready to develop a ski resort over here. So, I really think that it's infrastructure that is the biggest hindrance to be able to access a lot of the areas that we want to go to. And I think that's what, the government is trying to do, actually. I mean, recently, I think the KPK government announced a project with the World Bank where I think they've earmarked, they say $126 million for tourist centers, for setting up tourist centers, for improving the hospitality, centers, investing in hotels, setting up glamping pods so that people can go to more remote areas. So they are announcing all of this, but I think it really just comes down to how much you're willing to invest in infrastructure. Because you can do these campaigns, but there's no trust, right? If your government is coming and telling you, now come travel, no one's going to really believe it. I'm a pessimist like that, so I think it's really up to the citizens. It's up to the private sector, and the government can really help by just improving access to these areas. Of course, you can always have good security over there, and they can send I don't know, have a better police force or whatever it is. There are a lot of checkpoints on the way, but I think certain roads are very desolate for a long time, and that's people do end up getting mugged or trapped over there. So just to have more police checkpoints along longer stretches of road would also help. These kinds of things I think will make an actual difference. Allocating funds, I've seen them allocate funds, but they're not distributed. They have to be efficiently distributed, right? Or the contracts that they sort of sign in have to be effective contracts, not something that's left halfway when one minister joins and another one. When things change, then the project just loses steam. We've seen that many times. So just because there's no continuity in your posts, there's no continuity in the funding or the projects that are being announced. So those are the sort of challenges right now. I think those are small things that can be fixed versus some big policy change, because the ideas are all there and funding has been earmarked, but there's no execution of that and no consistent execution of that.
और आपने बिल्कुल I will completely agree with you कि obviously अगर आपने इस sector में investment करनी है, yes, I mean obviously low hanging fruit है, the bed and breakfast model is available, लेकिन अगर आपने really, if you want to plunge into this sector and develop the tourism sector vertical, it requires big investments, and big investments do require sustainability and visibility. Okay, will I get the return on investment on the investment that I will be making into this infrastructure? Even अगर आपने कोई development करनी है, of course the capex itself on the building, and then getting access to the building, and then commercial oriented services. It does require a substantial amount of capital, and then you want to be protected and have sustainable policies.
I think one important thing that the government should do is, because it's so unstructured and unregulated, the development that's coming up in these areas, that there's a lot of encroachment, there's a lot of deforestation, there's a lot of waste. These are the kind of things that the government really has to, if nothing, should keep an eye on that, right? So just to make sure that now that this development is happening and everyone wants to invest and set up big hotels, that they're not, dumping waste into a nearby lake, or there's some kind of regulations from an environmental and sustainability aspect, because those areas will not, they already don't look the same from 10 years ago to today. And you don't want that aspect of that going down, because otherwise then we won't be able to attract international tourists if it goes, and even for domestic tourism, it will lose its charm eventually if it can't be sustainably managed.
Completely agreed. And आप सही कह रही हैं that the ecology, because we are talking about, let's say अगर northern areas की बात ही करें तो they are stemming, their whole value proposition is the ecology, the disconnection, the connection with nature. And अगर हम, let's say, just this large hotel chain की हम बात कर रहे थे, already there are concerns by local communities operating in that area कि जी how will they manage their services, will it be appropriately equipped, जिसना आपने बताया कि जी उनकी waste management सही होगी, उनकी water management, ecology वाला element, there's laundry services. Hotels do tend to be, of course we always see those signs जब हम होटल में जाते हैं कि जी आपने अगर towel reuse करना है तो, but it's a double-edged sword. तो वाकई आप सही कह रही हैं कि पाकिस्तान क्योंकि अभी इस सेक्टर को डेवलप कर रहे हैं, तो अभी से हम incentives कर रहे हैं. Eco tourism is actually I think can attract in itself a lot of funding, especially from donor agencies, for example.
Yes.
We are a developing country, lekin I think there are funds that are earmarked for development of this landscape, but in a manner जो कि sustainable हो and does not hinder the disaster that can take place अगर तो हम इसको सही तरह ना manage करें. Last few questions, I think maybe one or two, and then we'll digress slightly from our main topic. कि obviously क्योंकि हमारे कुछ students आज हमारे साथ ये session join कर रहे हैं, बाद में भी देखेंगे. आपका क्या ख्याल है with regards to employment opportunities that are currently there, or even entrepreneurial opportunities which are relating to the tourism sector that come to your mind? क्या चीजें आज हमारे students understand कर सकते हैं, अपने आप को educate कर सकते हैं to, let's say, enter this area? Anything that comes to mind? A few things.
I mean, I think honestly there are a number of excuse me, a number of opportunities, and I look at my own venture, which was Jivago. I mean, I think with any sector, whether it's tourism or not, and it's all very area dependent. So if you're a student who wants to live in Lahore, your sort of investment in tourism will be very different from someone who wants to maybe go in a more leisure-based travel, which would be in the northern areas. But I think what you have to do is you have to look for a problem to solve, right? And I'll give that example of Jivago. What problem were we trying to solve? That nobody in Pakistan knew exactly how many hotels existed in Pakistan. There was no number. When we went looking for hotels to list on our directory, we went to PTDC's directory. They had last published it 10 years before we were, and there was no publication after that. We reached out to those hotels. There were 500 of them, only 500 in Pakistan. And when we actually went on the street, we found over 2,000 hotels. And only 10% of them were listed on that PTDC website, on that PTDC directory. So I think that was one pain point we were solving. No one knew how many hotels they are, what quality they are, and where they are. So we took pictures and we put reviews. And so what I mean to say is that you look for pain points. One pain point is obvious from this conversation. There are no there are no resources to train hospitality. So there's a lot of scope in providing those services. I think there's a lot of scope in, maybe even setting up an online business in terms of delivering accurate information to customers and providing them that transparency. That's a huge opportunity in the tourism sector. Then, of course, there are other opportunities that are maybe not directly related to tourism, but that can help it, improve tourism. So setting up, residential societies or whatever it is, improvements in retail that actually make it attractive for people to come and visit those places. I think there's a lot of opportunity in the F&B industry, especially in the northern areas, because there's not a lot of options available in those areas for food. I think there's a huge opportunity in 4 to 5 star hotels in the northern areas. I think there's a massive opportunity all over this country for a basic standard hotel. So how you go abroad and Holiday Inn, it's not expensive, it's safe, you get clean sheets, you get pani, your air conditioner will be working whether you have an air conditioner or not, but it's a comfortable room. We need that. I mean, there's a huge opportunity, I think, in Pakistan to develop that one brand where, okay, I'll go there, I'll get a clean bed, I'll get internet, I'll get, my own bathroom, clean bathroom, and that's all I need. So I think there's a huge opportunity in that. So just, these kinds of, I mean, it's limitless, but these are a few that I can think of at the top of my head.
Thank you. I think very well said. वाकई आप सही कह रही हैं कि opportunities are endless, and in a lot of cases अगर आपने startups भी शुरू करनी है तो data acquisition, because stale data is no data at all. One of the things that can really be leveraged very well is कि अगर आप service करना शुरू करें इस sector को for just current data which is curated and start offering it to people, because I think abhi hum, for those of our viewers who deal in the startup world and with funding coming from abroad, BookMe ne abhi fundraising ki hai, I think $7.5 million ki. In fact, we're going to try and have them on one of these sessions, because they're an important and integral part of the tourism industry, not just for tourists being brought to Pakistan, but also for you to have a site जहाँ पे आप उनको बाहर भेज सकते हैं, for example, hotels abroad, and they are doing events. Of course, there's a whole tourism based around sporting events. For example, cricket could be an opportunity, hockey could be an opportunity. So truly, I think बहुत areas हैं. F&B का vertical है. बिल्कुल आप सही कह रही हैं कि there's the whole service verticals जो कि आप offer कर सकते हैं, cookie cutter, and standardization again is a very large part of the offering. So thank you, Nadine, for the insight on the tourism industry and how that is progressing in Pakistan. And we'll just spend the last couple of minutes on some personal stories, if you allow. tell us about Nadine. You know, again, the person sitting here with us today has been through her journey. Anything that you can think of that you would have done differently? And the reason why I asked this question is because हमारे students हैं, they're going to be making a lot of big decisions in their lives very soon, either to come into college, be in college, or graduate from college, and make decisions that will impact them from the rest of their lives. So, any one or two points that you feel, thinking back, hindsight is 2020. क्या आपको कोई एक दो चीजें इस तरह की आती हैं that come to mind for you to say कि अच्छा, you know, not regret, but just maybe how you'd have done things differently?
That's a tough one. I have one story for every year of my life. I think how I would have done things differently.
Okay.
No, I am joking. So I think I would have had a lot more. I would tell myself, my younger self, to have a lot less stress and anxiety when making big decisions, because at the end of the day, it may seem like it's going to impact your life. You know, the next decision you take is going to define the rest of your life. I think with your career, you have to accept the possibility of change. You have to accept the possibility of things not working out the way you always wanted to. And I think you have to accept the possibility that you may not succeed. And then you have to accept the fact that it happens to everyone around you. So this is life. If I had gone in with that knowledge, I would have saved myself a lot less white hair or, stress or whatever it is. I think that's one of the, and I still try to take that lesson with me. So in terms of, I think if you choose careers, and especially I believe in Pakistan, there's generally a lot of fire. And especially if you go into a startup world, a huge part of your job is firefighting and crisis management. And to deal with that effectively, you have to sort of, manage your stress and your own anxiety very well. So when I look back and I think about all the really stressful times in my life, I wish I'd asked myself, what was the worst that could have happened? And then what? And it isn't so bad, So I think that's one thing. I think another thing is that in your younger years, I think you should put in that hard work. If the answer is this is too much work, it's yes, yes, yes. Because as you in your 20s to 30s, you have a lot of freedom, you have a lot of independence, and you have the physical energy to be able to put in those hours. And those hours are going to be a huge investment for the rest of your life. So I say that, look, it's hard work. It's about doing stuff that you may not want to do, that you may think is not your job description, but that diligence and that ethics and that responsibility to your work is what will define the rest of your career. And I speak from a position of a woman who's had to take a break in the middle when I've had my kids. And it's your reputation of hard work, it's your reputation of ethics, it's your reputation of whatever it is, diligence, motivation, that is going to get you back into the workforce if you choose to take a break. A lot of people don't, but I did. And so really making that investment early on in your life, despite what anyone else says around you, your parents, your siblings, your friends who may have easier jobs than you, I think it really, really pays off. And again, this is easier said than done. I think one piece of advice that haunted me with my first job was that I'm not doing something I love. I liked my job, it was okay, but I wasn't very passionate about banking. It wasn't something that, motivated me to go to work every day. It's not something I felt very excited about. But what I learned in those 4 years at Citibank was so vital to my training and to my future, that it's okay. Sometimes you don't have to love what you do. Yes, you should like what you do, but sometimes you take jobs as a certain step to achieve what you actually want to do in the end. So that is an important lesson I learned. And then lastly, I've just remembered is that there are certain skills that let's say that you know what you want to do, and you know that there's certain steps that you have to achieve to take it. Make sure you're getting the right skills. Make sure you're getting experience in an industry that teaches you. Never stop your learning. Always be humbled and know that you may not know everything, and accept that and embrace that and be willing to learn. Those are the couple of things that I would tell my younger self, and I would advise all of you as well.
Thank you. I think very valuable words indeed. और ये जो आपने I think जहाँ से शुरू किया और बीच में भी repeat किया और end भी इसी पे किया कि you don't necessarily have to love what you do all the time. Yes, definitely आप उसको you're working towards it. हर आपका experience, I think आप सही कह रही हैं कि हर experience, no matter how small or how insignificant or how mundane it may seem, is giving you a taste of real life. and real life is not easy. It's not no, nobody said it was going to be easy. और हम भी अपने students को बताते हैं कि yes, आपने the hard work that you put in now at college will inshallah pay off. लेकिन आपने अपने there is this is the last kind of hurrah before real life hits you, and you have to be ready. So make yourself flexible. The harder you work in college, in that microcosm, when real life hits, the number of constraints and the things around you are a lot broader than being in that cocoon of college.
We all wish we could go back to college. I thought it was very stressful college while I was in it, and now I miss it so much.
Waqai. And of course, hats off to you. I think I will recognize and reiterate जो आपने कहा कि in our society, जो the thought process with the women working and you taking a break from professional career to raise a family. So I salute you. My hat off to you to say कि आपने ये हिम्मत की. And I will encourage that everybody, not just the women. I think we are an equal opportunity and becoming an equaler opportunity society here in Pakistan. So yes, I think to manage work and life, it's a struggle for everybody, whether they are male, female, young, old. That's a constant struggle.
True.
And with that, Nadine, I think we are out of time, a few minutes over. Thank you very much कि आपने हमारे साथ अपना time निकाला और अपनी wisdom भी share की. I think really enjoyed the session for myself personally, and I hope
so much.
Thank you for
thank you for having me. It was interesting. I really enjoyed talking to you. It felt so nice and casual, and I hope the audience has gotten something out of it. Thank you for having me.
Inshallah, and thank you for being with us. Or inshallah, I hope कि somewhere, I know you're based in Karachi mostly. अगर आपका Lahore का चक्कर लगे, do let us know. We'll have a face-to-face session हमारे students के साथ at the university as well. And inshallah, I hope in the next few months we may just have a hospitality offering. It's something which has been on our radar because I think service sector development is an area which is much lacking in Pakistan. We're already dealing with the health human resource part. Why not another H, which is the hospitality human resource part? I think it's a natural segue for us, inshallah. But until then, Nadine, thank you so much, and I'd like to also take the opportunity to thank our viewers जो अभी हमें देख रहे हैं, और those viewers जो हमें बाद में देखेंगे on our website and our live recording for later use. So thank you again.
Thank you. Khud Hafiz, everyone.
Take care. Khud Hafiz.